What about string bending? This is obviously a very important guitar technique, and one that I've not yet spoken about in this series. So let's do that today, and I've got an exercise for you. We're going to be playing the C major and the C minor scales on a single string, and we're going to be bending into each of the notes of those scales. And I think this is a very musical way of working on your bending technique and your accuracy with bending pitch. So we're going to start here. This is a C note, 5th fret on the 3rd string. A C major scale obviously is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We're going to be starting on the C, but we're going to be bending up to the D, to the next note in the scale. So it's a tone bend, a whole step bend. So you're going to want to just bend up until you reach that pitch. And one thing you might like to do is just to play the note that you're bending up to. We're bending a C up to a D, so if you actually play the fretted D and then bend the C until it matches the sound of that fretted note, you can kind of hold that D sound in your head and then bend up until it matches. And focus on good bending technique here. So it's always a good idea with bending to support the finger that's bending. Here I'm bending with my 3rd finger, but I'm not just bending with my 3rd finger alone. That would be impossible really for me to get that up to pitch if I'm just trying to push with my 3rd finger. I've got my other available fingers coming in behind the 3rd finger, and they're all pushing together to get that C up to the D. And another good idea with bending is to have your thumb over the top of the neck. You're kind of wrapping your thumb over the top of the neck, and then you're squeezing against your thumb, using that for a bit of leverage to help you get the bend up to pitch. I mean, not everybody does that, but I think the majority of players would have the thumb over the top of the neck when string bending. Another important technical aspect of string bending is keeping it clean. People run into problems where they're string bending and you end up with string noise, or you kind of snagging on the other string. So this is something to pay attention to as well. When you're bending, it's a good idea to push the other strings cleanly out of the way. So with the tip of my 3rd finger, well, the tip of all 3 fingers really, I'm just pushing the D string and the A string neatly out of the way as I bend. I'm not kind of going on top of them, I'm not coming underneath them, I'm just trying to push neatly out the way. And then my picking hand is also going to be doing a bit of muting down at this end of the guitar, just because when you come out of a bend, if I'm not muting, then you're going to get a bit of string noise like that. But if I'm muting with this hand, as I come out of the bend, I can just come down and mute the strings and keep everything clean. So those are some things to pay attention to, but let's continue with the exercise. So we're starting bending a C up to a D, and then we're going to a D, and we're bending that up to the next note in the scale. So D up to an E, that's another tone bend, and then we're going to the E, and this is a semitone bend. So in the major scale you've got that naturally occurring semitone between the 3rd and 4th degrees of the scale. So here we've got the E going up to the F, and then we're continuing, we've got an F up to a G, that's a tone, and then a G up to an A up to a B, and then finally we've got a B up to a C. That's another semitone or half step bend from the 7th degree of the scale going back to the root note, B to C. So that's our exercise, and this isn't a speed exercise. This is perhaps something you don't need to do with a metronome. It's more about doing it slowly and actually listening to the pitch of your bending, just trying to make that as accurate as you can. That's the exercise with a C major scale. You could try the same thing with a C minor scale. So, but the same idea, bending into each of the notes of the scale. So give that a try. For an extra challenge, you could try adding vibrato to any of the notes in this exercise. You could try doing the same thing on other strings. You could try it with different scale types as well. So have fun with that, and I'll see you tomorrow.